Okay, so I've got Ashley Phelps and Gretchen Lyons, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, with Humble ISD, and they should be able to turn their video on and their audio on now. I see them coming into the room. Hi, Gretchen. Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
Good to see you this morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for being here. So as I told the audience, and I see more people are coming into the room as we speak, you are our Rockstar District this morning to start us off, and I'm going to go ahead and your co-host so you can share your screen or whatever type of presentation you need to do, and I'll go ahead and take myself out of the picture and give you the virtual floor. Welcome.
All right.
Thank you so much for having us today on the Virtual Expo. So good morning. We are from Humble ISD. This is in the northeast part of Houston, Texas. My name is Gretchen Lyons, and I am one of the assistant directors. I'm over operations, and I have been with the school district for 16 years. And Ashley Phelps is our other assistant director, and she is in charge of menu planning and is a dietitian, and she's been with the district for 8 years.
Good morning. Well, thank you for having us. And this morning we're going to be talking about 4 areas. We kind of just wanted to share our story and our COVID experience from March through now. So we'll be talking about some of the challenges that we experienced, what we learned from those challenges, changes we've made that we're proud of, and just a few do's and don'ts that we also learned about along the way. So as Gretchen said, our district is in the northeast part of Houston. We have 44 schools where we serve from, 5 high schools, 9 middle schools, 29 elementary schools, and 1 early college. Currently, we are 45% free and reduced. We have about 45,500 students enrolled in our district. Currently with COVID, we are about 64% in-person learning, and 34% of our students are doing virtual learning right now. We have 290 child nutrition employees. We are currently doing a socially distanced cafeteria for our students that are doing in-person learning, and of course, curbside, non-congregate virtual meals for our virtual learning students. We just started 2 breakfasts in the classroom schools this year, which we were really excited about. And normally we operate National School Lunch Program, but we recently switched to the Summer Seamless option a few days ago with the updated TDA guidelines.
Okay. So how did we handle some of our COVID-19 challenges? We had many, just like everybody else. Ashley and I met over spring break to put a few things in place and plan. And then we met on Monday with our team, and we basically had 24 hours or less to change all of our operations. We started serving meals the 2nd day after spring break. We use Google Docs for planning, Google Sheets for volunteer sign up, and Google Forms for data collection. We started with 8 serving sites and 1 remote site. And during those 3 days, that week that we served over 54,000 meals, including breakfast and lunch. And we started slow the first day, and participation continued to climb tremendously, a good 1,000 a day. So we were a little bit short on food, so we had to get creative. We changed our preparation methods. We also went to change from assembling meals in the kitchen to having assembly lines set up in the cafeteria. Inventory was extremely important for us for finding additional quantities of food as our participation climbed. We used all of our food that we currently had in our district, and then received deliveries later. So those best buy dates and those expiration dates were super important. We needed to move produce out of all of our other schools, and milk and packaged items that had expiration dates. We also needed additional equipment because we were serving so many students and had so much food. We needed to move ice cream boxes from other schools to keep our food cold in outside for curbside. We also were very short on cooler space since we were not doing offer versus serve, and we had such high additional quantities of milk and produce. So one way we did that is we adjusted the temperature from one of our walk-in freezers and made it a walk-in cooler. We had to have daily milk deliveries. And then one other challenge is we were super short on time. Ashley and I were working around the clock. And so one of the things we started doing was delegating and up-training our other team members to help with different tasks, including talking to vendors and doing some of the ordering. So that was very helpful and helped to develop confidence for them also.
So moving on from the start of COVID and changing our meal operations to the first day of school, our district's plan was to start in-person learning on August 11th. Secondary students are going to start on a A-B schedule. So Group A would come to school every Monday, Wednesday. Group B would come to school Tuesday, Thursday, and then every Friday they would alternate. And on days where they were not on campus for in-person learning, they would be doing virtual learning at home. Elementary students would be back on campus for in-person instruction. Of course, whether elementary or secondary, the parents always have the option of electing online learning. So come Tuesday, August 4th, our school board had a emergency meeting planned. And at that time, things changed. So everyone was going to be starting virtual learning August 11th instead of doing in-person and some virtual learning August 11th. So we had about a week to come up with new menus. We had to come up with a K through 8 menu, a 9 through 12 menu, and a K through 12, a 9 through 12 lunch menu and a K through 12 breakfast menu because we knew that kids at any grade level, they could go to a high school, they could go to a middle school, they could go to an elementary school. So we wanted to make sure that we had menus that could meet any age group level at our serving campuses. So that way parents wouldn't necessarily have to go to a high school to pick up a high school meal if they had a high school student. So it was challenging. I think we came up with about 21 different menus in about a week's time. Each menu was a little tailored to our serving campuses because some of our elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools don't always use the same items. Elementary may use a different item compared to a middle school. So we had to keep in mind the inventory that we had on hand to kind of minimize food waste. And also we didn't have a lot of storage space at our schools because a lot of our campuses got deliveries the spring break before the end of last year. We started off serving virtually at 15 sites. We had a week to kind of get our logistics down for our POS, since we were operating the National School Lunch Program at that time, bringing up kids, checking for food allergies, also communicating with our public informations department in our district, those serving sites, and any pertinent information that we needed to give to parents. One of the nice things we had during our virtual learning for the first 2 weeks of school was that we had a meal reservation form that our amazing public communications team put together for us. And so that helped a little bit. Parents were able to fill that out and let us know if they were going to pick up a meal for that day. So that way we kind of had a little bit of an estimate of how much to plan and prepare. Of course, despite all of the communication that was sent out to parents, we had a very, very low participation the first 2 weeks of school as we were doing virtual learning.
Okay, so then after virtual learning, we went back to our brick and mortar into our schools on August 24th. We were one of the first districts. Our district is a total rock star, and they wanted to be first and get this learning on the road. And we started with both in-person meals and virtual learning meals. And every time something changed, every time we've mentioned a change, we ended up changing locations. So the name of the game is change and being flexible this year. One thing that was super important with going back to school was we didn't really know how to set the cafeterias up. So we had to get really creative, and we utilized the managers to show us their pictures. We asked for pictures, videos, and then we took videos and we shared the best practices to share with other schools in our district for how to set up the line, how to space things out, where to put your food, where to put the queuing for lining the kids up. Our adults serve 100% of our food. Even if it's prepackaged or covered, it does slow down the lines, and we have needed help from the teachers to do this. We also we had to move staff around to accommodate the changes. Some of our highest staff schools before this event ended up being our lowest participation schools. So we needed data to move our staff to other schools based on participation, lunch schedules. If we didn't explain why and give them that actual data, then people were thinking they were being punished and wanted to quit. So that data was really important. Also, we had to replace our keypads and stop the kids from typing in their numbers. So we used ID badges to scan in the secondaries, and also electronic rosters. And we needed to print those for our elementary kiddos. A big challenge we worked on is socially distancing our employees at lunch and in the kitchen. They really like each other, definitely part of a team. And so to prevent spreading the virus when they were eating, we had to really enforce social distancing while they were eating lunch also. In a few schools, we've been super duper short, and it's been extremely hard to slow the lines down. So in some of our secondary schools, we've started socially distancing some of our foods, like wrap foods and milk, to help speed up the lines. It's really important to go daily to your schools and observe the lines and time the lines. Time that last student to see how long it takes them to go through the line. And communicate with the principals and staff. The principals are freaking out because the lines are like 6 times longer because they are socially distanced. So even though it may only take 5 minutes to go through the line, they see that line to the end of the cafeteria and they're panicking. So it's important to communicate. Also, we've increased our cycle weeks and our variety to prevent burnout for the food, and our participation is increasing, yay. And then make sure communication is, again, the name of the game, okay?
So when our students came, or were actually allowed to come back on campus, those who elected in-person instruction on August 24th, our secondary schools were still on an AB schedule at that time, or I'm sorry, they had started the AB schedule that we were originally going to start August 11th, but the school board decided to start virtual those first 2 weeks. So starting August 24th, our secondary students came back on a rotating AB schedule. And so that made it a little bit challenging because we would have one group of the same students on campus 3 days a week. So we wanted to make sure we met the vegetable subgroup requirements, everything in the meal pattern for that group. And then we had to flip-flop the menu and do the same thing the next week for the other group that would be on campus 3 days a week. So we did have a very limited menu to kind of help reduce food waste and try to use the same ingredients but menu them differently. So we wouldn't have a lot of extra food items that we would have to order, and just basically use what we have on hand. Now that students are back, all of our secondary students are back on campus 5 days a week now. Those who wanted to do in-person learning, as Gretchen mentioned, our participation is increasing, and now that we've gone SSO, we hope that it goes up even more.
Thank you, Ashley. Hi, it's Carrie. So we are out of time, but what great information. And I appreciate you and Gretchen spending your time giving us the overall picture of what your district has been doing, you know, in this, what I'm considering a mad juggling time in all of your lives. So thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we appreciate the presentation and the information. And I know everyone who's attending can reach out to you through their mobile app if they have any questions for you. I didn't see anything come through, but it doesn't necessarily mean there aren't questions hanging out there. So again, thanks for being part of our event and your time
Thank you.
this morning.